Hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us here. My name is Anthony. I am on the product marketing team here at OneSignal, and I'm really excited to have Maggie, my counterpart in the product management side, and as well as Alex, coming from Google to talk about RCS. We're really excited about this channel. It's a massive improvement over SMS, and we're really excited to have Google here with us to show off how some of the most advanced, users on the planet are doing some really cool things with RCS. So for those of you who don't know or might not be familiar, RCS is a widely used standard for messaging, and it stands for Rich Communication Service. You have a billion people use it worldwide every month. And like I said at the beginning, it's a massive upgrade to SMS. You can see the graphic on the left kind of showing what's possible with RCS. You get these rich interactions, images, files, wallets, passes. It's really expansive. Google is investing a ton into it to make it super awesome, and we're really excited to make that available to our customers. And it's not without any killer results. Brands are seeing a ton of engagement with these more rich interactions, and that engagement is leading to significantly more revenue from these interactions. So you might have heard this technology before. Where sort of are we in the adoption? You hear a billion people using it every month. It is existent. It's been around. I think the big change is the universality of it, right? When Apple said that they were going to start supporting RCS on their side of the house, it now means that RCS is effectively a universal standard, similar to SMS, except it's better in almost every way you can imagine. So we have, some of our early adopter, our leading customers already on board using it. But we expect that it's going to be a big uptick in 26 as you see more and more people realizing that you can do these rich interactions, that it's going to be better than SMS, more secure. And so we're really gearing up for that and really excited to bring to market. You can see, we're talking about it as an upgrade from SMS. A couple ways to think about it. Text messages have been around for a long time, so there was a lot of room to improve in terms of, reliability, trust, things like that. But then I think you can also think of SMS sort of lagging behind, right? Like there are all of these rich channels where we have these experiences messaging each other back and forth, social media platforms, etc. And SMS didn't really keep up. And so now this is like this new standard that's maybe even leading the charge in some ways. So from the top down, you can imagine that badge is verification. Like carriers are actually verifying these profiles. And when you get the profile, you get your brand, you get your name and logo. And that is a really powerful recognition to the user immediately. And you get that rich media experience, the cards, carousels, images, PDFs, GIFs, what have you. And you can also see that there are buttons. You get that easier engagement. You get the ability to have the quick replies, the quick actions. And it's a really noticeable difference. You can see here with this example, like you go from a number that is totally an unknown series of numbers to like a brand that you're familiar with, a logo you're familiar with, visuals that, really bring to life what is being sent. And if you are a news, publisher, like I think this is going to go a long way for your readers, your audience. I think you're going to get a lot more views, a lot more clicks on your content as a result of this rich message. And like I said at the beginning, it's iOS 2. I think that's a key detail here. You're going to notice that same impact on iOS devices. So what are the sort of key features? And this is kind of specific to the OneSignal offering of RCS, but also touching very importantly on the key features of RCS itself. So that verified and branded sender, that is going to appear like upon the first interaction with your customers. And so it's not that random number. It's not that sort of, oh, who is this? Is this spam? And especially as we get more and more aggressive spam filtering in both the operating systems, this is going to be really, really important just to get your message read and across. And because there is a verification process, necessarily those sending from an RCS sender will be, less likely to be spam, but it's going to increase that trust with your users directly, and you're going to, enjoy a deeper relationship as a result. And we just want to note that there are a bunch of folks that you could, use RCS with. We have a strong ecosystem relationship with folks like Google. And so we're here to, be your partner in that and really help you get approved, work you through that verification process because it is somewhat tense and rigorous. So what does the actual like rich messaging of RCS look like? You get these rich cards and carousels. So you can see in the bottom left here, there's kind of a carousel between different offerings for this jungle or catamaran trip. And those are like, as you can see, images, text, buttons. It's really deep above, a simple link interaction that you might offer in an SMS. You get the quick replies, somebody, offering the ideas. You can kind of see those at the top there for how you might imagine users interact with your platform. Get the quick actions, the buy nows, the learn mores, and then you get web views. And we'll talk about those more in a little bit here. But again, kind of thinking about how social media channels started to lead the way with what rich messaging could look like. You open up a link in many of those platforms and it stays right in there in the channel, in the platform. It doesn't go to a new browser. And that creates, kind of an infinite possibility for you to create as many kind of interactions as you'd like in those web views. And so we're really excited about that feature. And it's like a limitless canvas. Again, specific to sort of the OneSignal platform, you can send an RCS with an API call, totally easily. But if you wanted to know what that message was going to look like, if you wanted to kind of play around with the images, you wanted to play around with the text and see how it would appear on kind of the user's phone, you need a visual editor like ours to do that. And so it's also, anyone can use it. It's not a code base. You type in your message and you can effectively hit send just like that. And so for those marketing teams out there that want to reach more of their customers through a channel like this, but might be thinking about what an API integration would look like, we kind of solve for that and make it really easy for you to just use it directly. And then you're doing all of this. You've set up, you created these beautiful messages, you created these deep engagements. It's all for naught if you kind of don't have visibility into what's going on with that, right? And so the analytics, are sort of, I would say, commensurate with kind of the maturity of the channel. So still a little new, but we're giving you those like really fundamental insights, and then more and more will come over time as well. And so if you want to know that the RCS you sent was read, great. If you want to know that it was clicked, great. Like we provide that visibility, and that helps you use this channel in a really powerful way, and not just sort of like a we think it's working. We think we're sending messages. And here's that underscore into the web views again. So you can see on the left-hand side, you might get a link from a brand, and then you can open that link. There's a half screen. You get that full browser menu. Maybe they go all the way through that purchase. Like this is really where Google sees the market going, where we see the market going, to this like really conversational back and forth from discovery all the way through follow-up. You can imagine that whole experience taking place in a messaging channel directly with your brand, and that is like super super powerful experience to have that customer engagement. And what would be the alternative of not having web views? It clicks into the browser, maybe they get lost in the browser, and then it never come back. That could happen. Or somebody goes to one of the LLMs and it starts having a conversation there, and then never goes back to your brand. We think this is really critical for having that like long trusted and like overtime relationship with your customers that doesn't get intermediated. And so, we are more than just RCS as a company. OneSignal has channels like we're well known for push, but we do email and SMS as well as RCS. We have the intelligence and orchestration, so some of those analytics, the ability to like segment your audiences and like kind of listen and wait for events, and then create journeys with respect to all of that information. And then support. Like we really want to be sort of your partner and guide in your growth journey here. So all of that sort of combines into why we think you should use RCS with us. Not only do we have those sort of specific relationships to help you with RCS and offer, maybe better rates than you might see off the shelf, but we are that single consolidated vendor, and we can orchestrate kind of across the whole side, every channel, every journey. And so what does that like look like? And we think this is a really cool example of how our platform is powerful, and how RCS is almost as powerful, or can be just as powerful as an app. So you can imagine in this example, starting at the top left, that the user has the app installed, and with our SDK, we know that that app is installed, and so we say, okay, let's send a push notification for the upcoming vet visit. The push notification gets sent. It's one of the quickest, fastest things, time to phone. So user gets it. And maybe they're super engaged with their vet app and they say, hell yeah, let's do it. I'm confirming my appointment. And that could be the end of that. Or, many of us are distracted. We get a notification, we forget about it. We need to be reminded. And so you can say, okay, great. At the app level, you can say, okay, great. They got the push notification, but they didn't confirm the appointment. Let's retarget them with an RCS. And because RCS has those web views, because it has those like rich carousels and buttons, you're not just sending them a link and sort of praying that it's going to work. You're sending them almost the virtually identical app experience with those web views. Like that is possible. And so the richness of your app is extended to RCS, and hopefully then they get the notification there and confirm their appointment. And that's kind of like the power of our platform plus channels like RCS. So I'm going to stop now. I appreciate everyone for walking along with me and hand it over to Alex from Google. Alex, just tell me kind of, I'll click through slides for you. And he's going to walk us through some like really powerful examples of how customers are using this today.
So hi everybody, I'm Alexandre Allemand. I'm RCS for Business Comms Partnership North America. Nice to meet you, or virtually meet you all. I wanted to share a few examples of that. What we've built in some countries, in France, the US, and actually India, and share some use cases and common examples we share to demo the power of RCS. So as we see, RCS is actually used for three main engagement with customers: for marketing, promotional campaigns, transactional messaging, delivery notifications, or banking transactions, these kind of things, as well as customer care, right? So I have one examples for each category. So the first one is actually with Nespresso France. Nespresso wanted to deepen their customer relationship during a critical sales period, which was the end of year holidays period last year. They used this RCS for Business experience to build a guided, interactive, and playful journey that helped customer engage with the brand and with a cool and interactive experience. And so they saw amazing results, as you can see here: a 73% read rate, a 2.3x higher click-through rate versus SMS, which was their engage kind of reference like a channel that they used up until they tried out RCS, and then a 3.7 higher lift in purchase intent compared to SMS. So it was a highly successful campaigns and kind of proved RCS business messaging as a way to enhance their customer engagement through these branded, rich, and conversational features that the channel offers. The second example is a ISG. So if you want to go to the next slide. Cool. So this one, I really like this one because we are actually pushing new entry points for RCS, and we are actually piloting those entry points right now. So we are enabling click-to-message from Google search. So you know that 96% mobile search queries are on Google today in the US. And so brands really love these new features where you can start a click-to-message, an agent RCS conversation through search by a click-to-message button. So you go on search, you type your brand, you have this click-to-message button, you get into ISG customer care support, as we can see here, and you fall into this experience. So it's a nice way to actually bridge handhold the user from search onto a one-on-one conversational experience. So what they've built here is that, and you can see this click-to-message button on the right. So you click on that, you fall into the agent, and the agent will guide you through any customer care questions that you might have. There's also a feature that they've implemented, which we can see here. So they not only use the agent to from search, but also to deflect calls to messaging, right? So you call ISG customer care, you have the option to click on that message button and enter into a conversation with a one-to-many conversation over messaging versus one-on-one over voice. And obviously for a brand, this helps reduce operational costs as well as improve customer care CSAT, right, and makes the customer happier. So this is something we're testing in the US right now. So happy to talk in one-on-one, to have a one-on-one discussion with you guys through OneSignal and see how we can enable that for your brand. And the last one is Axis Bank. So Axis Bank is is actually the third largest private sector bank in India, and they wanted to find a new way to engage with their customers. Similar to other brands, they're using SMS for their A2P engagement with customers, and so they wanted something like more innovative. Something that we face in those markets is like actually WhatsApp is pretty strong, and so they wanted to find a channel that was different and that offer a new format and new features. And so they tried out RCS. What they were so their goal was to support inquiries about loan options, let the users apply for credit cards, and also for initiate service requests from an agent, right? So two different objectives. Similar to Nespresso, they used the different features available for RCS, so rich cards, chipsets, carousels, and explored all the panel of features available, and which drive amazing results as we can see here. So 10 million messages overall per month, a 6.5% service request created via the chatbot. So this one is really actually very interesting because this is the amount of service requests in addition that they served through the agent versus call. So again, a nice way to reduce their cost and increase customer care and customer satisfaction, and a 4x greater click rates versus existing channel like SMS. 54% cross-sell opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So if you go to the next slide, I think there's a little bit more detail about the experience itself. What I really like about this experience as well is that it can be triggered both ways. So SMS A2P has been brand initiated for 99% of the use cases are still brand initiated, but again, similar to the ISG use case, we are enabling entry points to actually let the user start the experience. So from search is one of them, but you can also, not yet in the US, but in other markets, you can actually tie a deep link to a QR code. So you scan a QR code and you would trigger the experience and you get into the agent and you can start interacting with it. So you have kind of a breakdown of the options here with the, which let the user, apply for a loan or apply for a credit card or do a fixed deposit. And then, on the second screen, you can see the different chipset options. When you click on them, you're directed to the menu, either to go to a service request or to a contact us, where you can either call the customer center or just enter into a one-on-one conversation with the bot. So this is kind of a comprehensive list of examples where you can see basically customer care, marketing, as well as transactional messaging here. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and happy to take your questions if you have any questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I'll stop sharing here and feel free to ask questions. We have 20 minutes for Q&A.
See a question in the chat here. Also, hi, I'm Maggie. I'm the product manager for RCS. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat. And we have Alex here as well to provide some industry stats if he has any, and I can answer any questions about how the product works. For this first question on the default fallback pathway. So what determines whether a message will be sent as an RCS versus an SMS is the carrier support. So depending on your region, that will determine what kind of availability RCS has. So in the US, for example, T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T are the major carriers. They all support RCS. And so any recipient that has those carriers should receive it as an RCS. And I don't know the stats. Maybe Alex, you know off the top of your head. I don't know if we know off the top of our head the number.
So actually, all the carriers support RCS in the US.
Okay.
The big three as well as the long tail. We have about 250 million RCS capable devices in the US today, and keep and growing. So there are still some users that are not yet provisioned, but that we are provisioning on the other carriers. So almost reaching parity with SMS very soon.
Yeah. And so what we have in our product is there is an RCS so the way that our editor works is there's the RCS message that you can create, and then there's the SMS fallback. So what we have is like a little toggle. So you can connect those, and then we'll generate the SMS fallback for you based on what is in your RCS message. So for example, if you have a button, we'll include that button link into the SMS message. If you have a quick reply, we'll say text quick reply, and that will be included in the SMS fallback. But you can also just decide to create whatever SMS message you want in there. You can decide what the fallback looks like as well if you don't want us to generate based on the RCS message. So that's kind of what the SMS fallback experience looks like in our editor. Does the user need to have a setting turned on their device to receive RCS messages? I think
So
yeah, go ahead, Alex.
it's enabled by default on Android and also on iOS. And I believe on iOS, you have the option to toggle it for A2P. You can differentiate P2P and A2P, but it's by default on Android for sure.
Yeah, and P2P to A2P and versus A2P being A2P is any business messages to that phone, and P2P being any peer-to-peer messages. So if they're talking with an iPhone is talking to an Android, that's some of the peer-to-peer RCS messaging that happens. So there's individual settings for that on iOS. Is RCS already available in OneSignal for all plans? Great question. So RCS is available on our in any contracted SMS account. So OneSignal RCS SMS is in any SMS contract account, which is only on any of our direct plans. So in order to sign up for SMS with OneSignal, there's a certain volume that you should be sending, and then you'll talk to sales, and we'll be able to get you some discounted pricing and contract out what that RCS contract looks like for you. Any other questions or just any concerns about RCS in general?
It's a great question. Do you see
So
that?
So you want to go ahead, Maggie, on this one, or?
Yeah, I can start us off, and Alex, feel free to fill in the process to get verified as a sender. So luckily, OneSignal is going to be very involved in that process. We have a dedicated team helping you get verified. It is similar in complexity to the short code application. And so first you'll have to, there's a bunch of like images, description, contact information that you'll determine. And then there's a bunch of compliance information as well. Depending on the countries, there's also different compliance information that's needed there. Oftentimes it's looking at your opt-in processes. So how do users opt into messages, making sure that that's compliant. Your terms of service, your privacy policy are compliant. So a lot of it is compliance related to that. And then it is actually kind of convoluted in the back end in that each carrier sometimes has different requirements. Different countries have different requirements, and OneSignal takes away a lot of that complexity for you. We'll work with you directly, hands-on, to get you to make sure that your information is set up correctly, that your compliance is in order before we actually do the submission. Oftentimes what happens is people submit somewhat with like something slightly wrong, and then what happens is that they come back to us with that feedback, and then they go back to the beginning of the queue, and that can take a very long time. The application process can take a very long time, and so it's just best to get that application set up really properly the first time around, and that just helps make sure that the application is streamlined. And so yeah, the OneSignal team will help, and we have an implementation team that will help you get that set up. Anything I missed there, Alex, on your end?
No, it's perfect. It's exactly that. And there's a question on cost as well.
Yes, what is the cost? I would need to get back to the finance team. There is an application fee. I believe it's under $1,000 for that application fee, but I need to get back to you on the exact cost.
Yeah. If not, like the cost is actually per message. So there's 3 message type. Actually, only 2 are defined and 1 is under definition. The first one is rich message, which is basically text plus suggested actions, the little buttons that you saw in the examples. There's rich media, which includes rich cards, carousels, photos, videos, rich media. which is the second one. And the third one, which exists in other markets, but not yet in the US, is the price per session, where, for conversational agent, obviously RCS is a conversational channel. So we define a price per session, as we call it. In other markets, it's a 24-hour session for unlimited number of messages. US carriers are actually thinking how to price it here. It's going to be slightly different, but the same idea, same concept of one message per session, which includes an unlimited number or virtually unlimited number of messages.
And what we're seeing as well on the cost side is it's not too much higher than SMS. There is a slight premium, but in comparison to SMS, the cost is very similar. And you'll need to go into your contract in order to really know the details of exactly what that pricing looks like. And there are volume-based discounts. But in comparison to SMS, it's a very similar cost, and yet the value is much larger. And so the cost is very similar. And there are some intricacies, as Alex mentioned, about like the types of RCS that are being sent and that introducing costs. So like similar to SMS versus MMS, the more rich, the more expensive that message would be.
Awesome. Looks like the next one is what verticals have been the first to adopt. So I know we've seen utilities, services, financial services, definitely some commerce. Alex, I'm curious what Google sees as well.
Yeah, retail, pharmacy, health in general as well. So yeah, banking, retail, pharmacy, M&E. We saw we have the LRMs and upcoming events that will be supported on RCS. But yeah, these are the main verticals. So it's pretty much the same as SMS and MMS, right?
Fairly universal. And then I think you just mentioned the Rams. There was a question about benchmarks. I know they saw, I think, a 70% lift in engagement and like a 60% increase in ticket sales and I think a 20% uplift against SMS. So some really strong numbers there. And I'm sure there are others too. Yeah.
Yeah, on average, above like across all the use cases that we see, we usually see like 50 to 150% higher CTR versus SMS on average. Then the conversion really depends, how you track the conversion, how you measure the conversion. So it's slightly different, but in terms of CTR, it's definitely much, much higher.
Nicole's asking, what happens if a device is not compatible with RCS? Do we have the ability to send it as a regular SMS, or does the message just not send?
Yeah, so that is the SMS fallback. So if the device, for some reason, for example, doesn't have internet, it'll instead send as the SMS. Or if they just if they're not an RCS compatible device itself, it will fall back to the SMS. And that's every time you send an RCS message, in the OneSignal dashboard, you will by default also create the SMS fallback as well, and it will send the fallback SMS.
I believe the answer is yes, Candice. You can change the branding in the OneSignal platform. Maggie, keep me honest on that one.
You can while you're uploading it, but once you've applied for that sender, that image, that logo is going to be a part of that sender application. And so the change management for that is a little bit difficult. And that is a part of that sender that got approved. And so to change that, maybe Alex, you have more information about when the change management will get better there. But
yeah, so it's actually possible to change and update a title, description, for example, or an image, but it needs to go through you have to have the carrier approval, which may take a few days. So I mean that's doable, but it's better to actually know what how you want to name or the image you want to use when you actually apply for launch.
We're getting some questions about geos workable for Mexico, and then users are in Europe, particularly France. Are there any tips or challenges associated with Western Europe and RCS?
So yeah, Mexico is fully covered. In Europe, we cover UK, France, Germany, Spain, Italy. Any tips? Well, it's kind of the same as, it's universal, right? So in terms of tips, I don't know what you have in mind and what the question is really about, but, the pricing structure is what I described just before. So the tips would be to go through OneSignal and just upgrade your brands on RCS. But what is your question specifically?
Sam, if you're still around. Well, you answer that. Are there any? Oh, Sam's.
I'm actually not sure if what exactly I did, but I just did some allowed to talk in Zoom. Sorry, I'm new to the Zoom webinar experience, so.
Sam, feel free to join us live or send a note in the chat there. Yeah, no pressure.
Sorry, no pressure.
Uh, let's see. Using rich media and app type ways. I think that's a great one. And I think web views is like a great answer to that, where you can effectively have like your total like fully responsive website right there in the app. But then having those buttons and those cards, you're effectively building like little slices of your app right there in the messaging. So maybe you want the user to like remind them to pay a bill. Some use cases I really like around like gaming or video streaming. It's like reminding someone that a new episode has dropped, or that like a game is live, or there's some bonus if they game right now, and then you just hit like a join the game button, and it's super clean and easy. All right, looks like Sam.
Actually, I had something maybe to suggest
Yeah.
here. Usually, how brands start is by upgrading their SMS campaigns, right? You don't need to start like conversational right away. You have existing SMS MMS campaigns that usually this is like what 99% of the brands do. They upgrade it. So one signal can identify those customers that are RCS capable. They will try an RCS first and then fall back on SMS on your existing campaign. So that's kind of the standard default approach to most of the brands. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And a lot of tips and just best practices is also like to do a lot of testing. Like honestly, just try out a campaign with RCS, see how it performs, and then compare that to your SMS performance. Specifically on the European carriers, Sam, if that's part of your question, I have heard different European countries do have different like some carriers are a lot more open to RCS than other carriers are. Kind of insider tip, I've heard that Germany, for example, is like more interested in RCS, and so and sending in Germany, the approval process is a lot more faster, and the carriers in Germany are a lot more organized, and so getting approved and organized approved more quickly happens in Germany. That's what I've heard kind of colloquially. But it's a lot of times it is about the different carriers and how quickly they can approve your application. All of these applications are kind of like um, to some extent manually processed. So how organized that system is for processing can vary. But in terms of the actual getting the RCS message out, once you are approved to send in that country, it doesn't look different across the different countries. Um, yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I think nice. Yeah, I think we've answered everybody. Ika, just to be blunt, yes, you do need to get verified in order to send an RCS. And yeah, like we said, that process can take some time, 8 to 12 weeks, but that's why we're sort of saying we want to be your partner and champion there and like help you through that process, because it is a bit confusing, complex.
I see one more question here about sub brands and how do we start getting set up. So on the sub brands question, um, we yeah, in order to protect from spam and fraud, one of the big ways that spam happens is pretending to be another brand, and so that's why we don't. Part of the RCS process is kind of strict about what brand is shown, and so that's part of the protecting of the ecosystem is to make sure that those brands, you can't just pretend to be another brand, switch out the logo, switch out the name, because those are the things that are seen on the phone. So it's part of consumer protection, and why the user does have trust in that message is because of that ecosystem protection of making sure that the brands are truly registered to that brand. And so that's part of why the sub brand process is difficult. You do need to register each brand as a sender. Is part of the That's part of the trust that's built on that ecosystem and why consumers can trust that brand. So that's why sub brands the sub brand process and changing of images isn't quite easy. Um, Getting set up, I'm glad you asked. Yes, I think you can, if you have an account manager, feel free to reach out to the account manager on our website. We also have a form you can fill out. We have RCS landing page. I'll link that in the chat there. And you can fill out a form and we'll reach out to you to get you set up with a demo and talk to our team.
Awesome. If there are any other or questions, please add them to the chat. Just some final thoughts from our side. We're really, the title of this was why is OneSignal investing in RCS, and we really are investing in it. So you'll see resources on our blog that have already come out, and then also some more resources coming out soon. We have like a really amazing community Figma file to like help you like mock up what RCS messages will look like. Maggie had a big hand in that. And yeah, like I said, we're really excited to be your partner and help you adopt this technology and then create some really amazing experiences for your customers and users. If there's nothing else, I think we'll end it a few minutes early here. Thank you so much, everyone. Alex, thank you. Maggie, thank you. Yeah, thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much. Thank you,
Thank
Anthony.
you.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Maggie. Cheers. Bye.